Hey, this is TMNT once again. What about the video? The paid request this time for Lucas, and sent in a very nice PayPal donation. Thank you for that. Wanted me to do commentaries for each of the 4-part episode arc of the big Brawl from the 2003 Ninja Turtles cartoon. So I'll do my best. For those interested, requesting any type of commentaries, reviews, re-reviews, topics, randomness, out of the blues, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both things are down below in the info box, pretty much under any of these videos. Now, let me get this started here. Should have had it started before. But yeah, I've said this before, I'll say it again, I've always been a fan of the 2003 Ninja Turtles cartoon. I saw it when it debuted and was just very surprised by what it was doing, what it tried to do, with more of an action show. Still a comedy, but trying to take it a little bit more serious. And it was just a nice welcome surprise. And it became my favorite cartoon. And one of my favorite iterations of the Ninja Turtles. So, Big Brawl Part 1, 3, 2, 1, pressing play. Again, like a lot of episodes, it starts with a little bit of a things to come, showing a scene from later on, and then a narration, sort of get people, I guess, immediately curious about the episode. Although this is a bit of a cheat because this is actually a flashback, so you think this is what's going to happen later on, and technically it does, but again, this is all happening in a flashback that's being told, so seems like a little bit of a cheat, but you know, it's there to entice and hook viewers. Yeah, the death touch. Bricks don't hit back. So we see Splinter training, wondering why is he training so hard for. But I love this idea of this interdimensional fighting tournament. I think that's a really cool idea. It could be an idea used for an actual film. I mean, not just a Ninja Turtles film, but any film in particular. I think that would be cool to have that type of movie. Yeah, we see a lot of fighting tournament movies, but interdimensional, I think the closest we get is not interdimensional, but Alien was Arena from the 80s, which wasn't that great of a movie. Starred a guy that was kind of like a wannabe Christopher Reeve. But yeah, it's one of those things where that would have been cool to see in a film. I'm surprised it hasn't been done yet. I mean, how many times we've seen... But I guess now that I think about it, there's not a lot of fighting tournament movies to begin with nowadays. I mean, what... I guess Mortal... Well, even Mortal Kombat really wasn't about the tournament. What am I talking about? The new one. Now, of course, the Turtles are a bit curious, and you know they're worried about their dad, they're worried about their father, so they're wondering what's going on and watch his back, keep him safe, which makes sense as sons. Now, I don't think was in the comics, because that's the thing with the 2003 cartoon. There's a lot of times where they did adapt the comics either as much as they could or as much as they did away with, because there still was a kids cartoon show, while the comics are much more darker and violent. I mean, there was sort of this wrestling in the Archie comics, where it was like this wrestling ring, and that's where Raphael wore this like black suit, and there's that little aspect, but I don't think that had anything to do with this. Ray, you're chanting. Ray, you're chanting. I'm going to kill everyone. Satan is good. Satan's our pal. Which is ironic since Corey Feldman voiced Donatello and did a shit job of it. As much as I like the 1990 movie, Corey Feldman was a terrible Donatello. The guy in the second film, Secret of the Ooze, was a much better voice. Come-a-ray, 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 come-a-ray. Yeah, right. It looks like they're going through the Stargate, and they're coming out just a bunch of fucking pyramids and shit. Where's Kurt Russell when you need him? Yeah, but also I think what hurt. I really liked the show, and it was successful enough. It got quite a few seasons. I think it was successful with either toys or it had video games. But the channel that it was on is not really a show. I don't think it could have a lot of as good a marketing as it could have. And it's sadly that the show is pretty forgotten nowadays for lack of not just marketing but availability. Like for people who want to own this, I mean the best you did to is go on eBay, but you're paying a shitload of money, and then to see it, unless someone like this, like these are uploaded on YouTube by a regular person, not like a studio or a production company. That's like the closest you get to seeing these episodes. So I just Nickelodeon just doesn't care about this show because they didn't make it, they didn't produce it, and I just find that idiotic because I think there's potential dollars that could be made doing this because is a fan base of the show, and for people who never saw it, you could really get them to show them, hey, here's this nice gem of a show. If you like action, if you like these characters, I like the look of those stick fighters. How because of their body, because of how they're structured, how different types of agility. Now, of course, this figure that's floating, we saw him in the Ultimate Ninja episode. And Lucas had asked if that is linked to this. Yes, I would say that's a precursor to this because you get the Ultimate Ninja character, which is featured in this arc very heavily by the end of it. That character floating, he was also the referee when Ultimate Ninja challenged Leonardo. So that's a returning character. You wouldn't even know who that is. I mean, you could gather who it is, but it's like, oh yeah, I remember that from a previous episode. Now, that is a thing that was a bit annoying because obviously it's a cartoon, they turn curse. A lot of times they would go, what the shell, and they did get irritating after a while. Because, like, well, we can't say what the hell. Obviously, you should never say what the fuck. So, I would just rather have them not say it at all. Yeah, this is the same type of force field that was in the Ultimate Ninja, where they had to spectate and wait. But I mean, this did a decent enough job, you not realizing you know, is this what's going on? Is this a life and death battle? But then it's actually a sort of the end to the final round, so to speak. And shows you Splinter's a badass. I mean, he is a ninja master. He did teach these guys. He does show them that he's a formidable fighter. I think it does show that he's won one of these in the past because there's these statues that showcase him proficiently. Like, that was a nice little gesture where Rav doesn't let Leo take the fall, and he's like, no, don't blame him, I'm the one. So that's like a little... It's not overdoing it, it's not oversimplifying it, but it's, you know, Raph, you know, not letting Leo take all the heat. Hey, you know, don't blame someone, blame me. Like, that's a nice little detail for the characters, for the gestures. That someone like me, who is really a big fan of these characters, notice. I'm sure most people are like, who gives a shit? But I noticed that a little bit. It's one of the reasons why I like Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze a lot, is all the little interactions with the characters as brothers. Now, I know like one critique you maybe get into the design of the show is that the turtles themselves, like, other than different shades of green and other than the color bandanas, maybe you can't really tell the difference between the four. That's one of the few things I could say positive. That's one of the things I can understand with the 2012 cartoons. Like, each turtle definitely looks different, even without their bandana. There's like one's shorter, one's thinner, one has freckles on his face. So I don't mind that idea of differentiating the turtles in that aspect. But I still really like, on the flip side, I still like the way they look, regardless of that. So here's the, interesting with the color scheme, how they change it. I just to explicitly tell people this is a flashback. That's a nasty cut on the back. Once again, you know, showcasing Splinter's badassery, that even with a broken leg, you don't do the Karate Kid move. That would have been cool if he did, but you know, it's him. One-legged man in an ass-kicking contest, and he won. With your ass with one leg, you bitch. New champion of the Big Brawl. Now, of course, Mighty would reference a comic book, of course. So Superman does exist in comic book form in this universe. Hence, Mighty references it. Which is interesting because, depending on what, well, I guess he didn't say it was a comic book. He said, maybe in this universe Superman does exist. Because, I mean, they are related to DC in a way, like, where there are DC team-ups where, like, Batman and the Ninja Turtles, they did a movie of that. which I found disappointing. There's aspects I didn't mind of it, but there's other aspects that just annoy me. Anna is, I think, the first Usagi Yojimbo, at least in this show, the first appearance. I thought they did a great job capturing the look and the voice of Usagi. I know he's in the 80s cartoon, and didn't mind it in there either. This is definitely a bit more like the source material. I know there was like talk of doing a whole show, like there's footage of like, I don't know, trailer or test footage I should say. But that's something I'm surprised no one ever did, like a whole, even for Netflix or whatever, like a whole animated movie or even a live action movie of Usagi. But see, this is the flashback shown at the beginning. And that's the Ultimate Ninja's dad, which we saw referenced in the Ultimate Ninja. I think by the end of it you realize it's this creature with the Ultimate Ninja working together. And then they come back for another arc where the combined, because Ultimate Ninja and that creature kind of have been combined with each other, so they send the turtles into different dimensions, and that's where you get probably the most popular episode of the show, Same as It Never Was, where Donatello's in the future, an alternate, very dark future where Mikey lost his arm and Raph lost an eye, and Casey and Splinter are dead, and they're older, and there's this battle, and everyone dies except the young Donnie and April, which is fucking dark. I think probably the most recognizable episode of the show. But yeah, I've said that before. What I like about the show is that Splinter doesn't seem too harsh. He is a master, he is a teacher, but if he's harsh, it's him trying to be protective as a father. Like, he seemed like a dick in the 2012 cartoon. He seemed like a dick in the 2014 film. Obviously, my favorite Splinter is still the 1990 movie, but this, you kind of get that nice demeanor of the 1990 movie, but you also are able to see Splinter showcase his skills, which, because the live action films in 1990 and 1991 weren't able to do that. Well, Leo, I don't think you need swords to compete. In fact, when your competition, are you allowed to use weapons? I mean, should you not be allowed to use weapons? Shouldn't that be a thing, this hand-to-hand combat? Shouldn't that be a rule? That should be hand-to-hand combat? What if I came in with a gun or a bazooka? Now we have different designs, including a Triceraton, which that'll be utilized later in the arc. Because then when Raph loses, he meets one of the Triceratons, and I think there was an arc of the show where they went into space, and there's these aliens called Triceratons that they had to deal with. Like, there's a Triceraton on the top. But yeah, the whole idea of the Battle Nexus tournament is a very cool idea, and I'll admit there's a part of me that just wanted to see the tournament run as is without this Ultimate Ninja business. Just to see a straight out tournament to see who would win and who would lose. But it is what it is. And these are the past winners, including Splinter and his master, Hamato Yoshi. Also, at least in this one, Leo doesn't seem as much as a stick up his ass dickhead like the 2007 CGI movie. Like, he's able to loosen up at times. He's able to be have fun with his brothers at times. Now, these are the creatures we saw in the Splinter flashback. And of course, we need a little bit of cliffhangers so you can catch and want to catch the next episode. Which I think this is when Usagi comes into play. But yeah, that was a fun episode. A nice start to this arc. Again, I love the Battle Nexus idea. I love the idea of the space tournament type of thing. Wish we would see that in an actual movie. And I would say the big brawl is definitely one of my favorite arcs of the entire show. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we will see you guys later. Bye-bye.